And welcome inside the Sherwood Park Arena for another episode of the Canalta Hotels AJHL Coaches Show. I'm Dave Dawson, pleased to be joined today by the head coach and general manager of the Calgary Mustangs, Tyler Drader. Tyler, thanks for joining us today. First things first, like to get it out of the way right off the top, bit of a summary. Who are the 2018-19 Calgary Mustangs?
Well, I think the Mustangs are a team that's a lot of fun to watch. We play with a lot of pace, a lot of speed, play on an Olympic ice surface, so that's a big focus for us. We like to move the puck quickly and get quick in transition and get on the attack.
All right, well, I imagine Taylor Medic probably asked you about this last season in 17-18. You took over the team mid-season, 16-17, and have now been in your second full season this year as head coach and general manager. Can you take us back to that, and what was the best part of that whole process? I know there's difficulties through that, but what was the best part of that process for you looking back?
Looking back, I think the best thing was to figure out what we had and what we needed to work on, and allowed me the opportunity to kind of see how things operate in the league. And I was thankful to come in halfway because a lot of people thought I was not too wise to do that, and kind of knew we were gonna struggle. But I think in hindsight, it worked out well because we were able to form a pretty good team based on a little bit of experience there.
Now, you went from 8 wins in 16-17 to 24 last season. There's probably a number of things, the reasons why you had success. Is there one thing that you can kind of put a finger on that was the reason for that jump, that level of success in 1 year?
Well, I think if anything, it's surrounding yourself with good people, right? That as soon as I took over, it was about getting good people, whether it be volunteers or coaching staff or players, right? We're all about character, and we want guys that want to help and want to serve, and we're very fortunate to work with some really good people.
Now, recruiting is a major part of hockey or any sport for that matter, and there are teams in this league that do that very, very well, recruit. How would you rank the Calgary Mustangs and how well they are at recruiting players to come to your program?
Well, I mean, rating is a difficult way to put it, I would say. But I think we do a good job of assessing the talent in and around our city. We do focus on local kids. The Alberta Junior Hockey League. We like to have Alberta boys. For the most part, and I think we do a good job of assessing talent and knowing what's coming up. I think like our assistant coaches and myself have been in Calgary for a long time coaching hockey. I'm on 16 years now, so I think I have a pretty good understanding of the kids coming up, and I got good relationships with their coaches. So they give me a little more detail as to who they are as people, because for me, recruiting character is the number one thing for us.
In some other areas of the province and not removed from across Canada as well, often small towns don't have the benefit of having the midget and the bantams right in the city, and you've been past coaching there. Is that maybe how you describe probably one of the best benefits of being in the city of Calgary, is having that dip at some of those players? Yeah,
for sure. We're in a great market. Calgary is a great place to live. And there's a ton of hockey players, right? So we don't need to look too far, which is nice. Obviously we do have billeted players, but for the most part, we got a lot of local players. And for us, I think a lot of the kids, they like to stay home. They like to sleep in their own bed. They like to, drive the car and that. So, be with their girlfriends or whatever it might look like, and I think it's nice to live in a big city. There's a lot of benefits to living in the big city, and I think that's what we kind of focus on.
What's the support base like in Calgary? I know obviously in the Edmonton area teams are in the outskirts of the city now, right in Calgary. How have you found the support base for the Calgary Mustangs?
Yeah, I think a lot of hockey fans are in Calgary. I think a lot of alumni have been trying to support the team and watch. I think the big thing for us is, we don't get as many fans as, say, Brooks does, but the one thing that we do have is, we're very well scouted. I think, every night you look, there's probably 10 to 15 scouts in the stands, and you don't always get that in small towns, right? So, eyes are always watching, and I think, that's the reason why a lot of our players are, being talked to with different schools and opportunities there. So.
Are there tools that have worked for your team when it comes to getting into the community, and maybe some that has maybe a bit of that big fish, small pond? Because often, sometimes people are looking at the Flames to come to the schools and things like that, and maybe the Hitmen. Are there tools that you've looked at and that have worked for you, and some maybe that you've learned from in the past that you can maybe divert from in the future?
Well, I think there's so many opportunities, right? So there's, whether it be schools or public events or, charities or, helping homeless or whatever. There's a bunch of different things that we can do. And, our guys are usually great at volunteering and, always make time to help out in our city.
Sounds like, yeah, your team's been pretty involved in the community there. You mentioned bringing in the right types of people, and often throughout these coaches' shows, that is pretty familiar. What part of coaching do you enjoy the most, and how do you kind of foster the skill development to the right kind of skill you're looking for in players?
Well, I think the thing I like the most is connecting with the players and, getting the most out of them. I think, everyone talks about character, but I think it's so important, right? And I think, we're developing people that, are going to go into society and make big impacts, and I think a lot of times, if you're an employer, you want to hire hockey players because, they understand pressure, they understand, how to work in a team. And, I think that's something that I like. And, I do like the assessing talent, and helping players develop. I've been very fortunate to coach, probably, a dozen guys that have gone on to play pro hockey. And, it's cool to watch them grow. But, again, it's also cool to see the engineers and the lawyers and all that too, right? So for me, it's just about maturing and growing those young men.
Well, as you're developing them and you're coaching them, are you the animated guy? I think even our off-camera chats, you seem to be a bit more of a reserved guy. How would you describe how the players interact with you? Are you the inspirational speech guy? Are you the one who's maybe more the intangibles and the details and the quiet, the patient one? How would you describe your coaching style?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm pretty patient. They kind of joke with me a little bit. I'm a little monotone, and I don't get too heated. I like to keep an even keel, and I think it helps our group stay calm in high pressure situations. I think as a player, I was always really emotional, and was probably a little too over the top. And I think when I first started coaching, I was like that. But I got to learn from some great coaches, and I learned to be a little more calm. And I care deeply about the players, and I want them to have success. And freaking out on the bench and and expecting them to keep their composure, doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, aside from having the full-time job as head coach and general manager, I understand you're a family man as well, and you've also been involved in banking for almost a decade. What's that process like, juggling all those components?
Yeah, it can be tricky sometimes, but the nice thing about being a RBC mortgage specialist is, I can work on the road. I was, working on some applications on the bus ride up. You get some work in, and it's not too bad. I'm blessed to get the opportunity to do that. I think as far as the kids, I'm very lucky to have a wife that gives, encourages me to do this, and I also help out coaching my two kids in Timbits and Novice, and I also coach them in spring hockey as well. So, sometimes you're coaching 5-6 teams, it gets a little much, but it's fun though.
How much does your wife mean to you and supporting you through this process, and what's that like on a day-to-day basis?
It's everything. Without her support, I wouldn't be here, plain and simple. I think family's the most important thing, and luckily for us in Calgary, I can spend a lot of time with the family. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it, right? I love to do what I do, and she knows that, and she is very supportive, and I'm a lucky guy.
So if we were to ask your wife maybe about what your best quality is, what would she tell us?
I don't know. I think she knows I'm passionate and I care deeply. I'm pretty thoughtful. I like to really think about what the next move might be, whether it be in recruiting or trades or tactically, or how I can get a guy more motivated or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe she'd say that.
All right. Well, one last question, I guess, for you. You mentioned that there are a number of players that have gone on to play professional hockey that you've coached, and you mentioned just about the lawyers and guys like that. 10 years from now, if we were to talk to a player that you've coached, what would you want them to say about Tyler Drader looking back and the kind of impact and legacy that you left on their life?
Well, I think that's something that would obviously be up to them. But for me, I think, to know that I cared about them, I was kind, and I helped them achieve their goals. For me, it's not about me. It's like I don't coach for personal accolades or anything like that. I coach to help, right? I think, so many people, it's all about them. It's about their ego. It's about, their drive to coach at a certain level. For me, it's about, getting the most out of kids, and I think when they have a good mental state, they perform better, right? And I think, the old school scream and yell, I think that is starting to fade away now. And I think the more you care deeply about people, they go that extra mile. If you don't care, then why are they going to work hard? And I think for me, it's just a matter of them believing in themselves and showing that I care about them.
All right. Well, Tyler, appreciate your time. I really enjoyed the interview, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for joining us this episode of the Canalta Hotels AJHL Coaches Show. Be sure to stay tuned for another one coming up in the near future. We'll see you next time.